Appreciate you joining us here on Talk Erie, live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State. We're also live on Facebook and YouTube. And it is another one of our Inspire interviews, and we're taking some time with the president of Gannon University, Dr. Walter Iwanenko. Doc, good to see you. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, Joel.
All right, so we are, almost 8 weeks into semester here. How are things going? How did the 2024-25 year launch, in your opinion?
It's been fantastic. During the summertime, you can't wait to get the students back on campus.
Yeah.
They bring an energy. You see them walking around downtown Erie. It's been fantastic. And we're seeing a shift. We're seeing students getting back to how it was pre-COVID, meaning they're looking to be in community together. They're looking to have conversations. I would even say the move-in with the parents was different. Yeah, they were just very engaged. So we're starting to see that transition, and it's exciting.
That is exciting because there's so much. You get 4 years when you're an undergrad, right? We all have those memories of how nervous we were as freshmen, and then we start kind of feeling our oats as sophomores. We'll help the kids, figure it out. By seniors, we're in leadership, right? And we're, maybe, the head of the frat or the head of our club or, leading in class or whatever. I mean, there's just there's a reason why you could have such a visceral connection to your alma mater. It's because you live this 4-year experience together, Yeah,
it's the relationship building, and from my perspective, when you see, now that I've been at Gannon for a couple years, I was a vice president before becoming president, so I've had the opportunity of seeing a couple different groups of students come as freshmen and then graduate and finish their entire academic career, which may include also staying in and becoming a physician's assistant or getting their doctorate in PT. And they come in and they're shy and they're timid. And then when they graduate, you can't shut them up.
Right.
But it's great.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic problem to have. And you build the relationships, and then you're excited for them, but then you're kind of sad because they're leaving, and you really enjoyed getting to know them and their families. But that's why we do what we do.
Talk about some of the challenges that every university had and college with the late FAFSA. How did Gannon navigate those waters where you didn't really know all the kids that were applying, as freshmen, because they didn't know what their financial aid was? How did you guys navigate that?
So we tried to get out as early as we could with our financial aid packages as soon as we were able to get the information from FAFSA. But who it really impacted, Joel, were the students, the most vulnerable students, first-generation students who didn't have families that knew how to navigate the system. And a lot of them just gave up because they kept getting barriers. We had students that had to apply multiple times because they would get their packages rejected. And if you don't know how to navigate it, it became such a huge barrier. So the most vulnerable populations we lost. So we anticipated that we probably saw a drop of 10 to 15% of students that didn't even make it through the process. And unfortunately, that tended to be your low income, high marginalized populations that ended up just not going.
Yeah, I think the national statistic was about 4% less applications. Would you have had to staff up? I mean, how do you even ascertain who might have that interest? They just didn't know what was going on with financial aid.
Well, and unfortunately, we couldn't really look at the data until after the process ended. So what we were struggling with was trying to identify students in need during the process. What we were offering, quite frankly, was boots on the ground help with FAFSA. So we were working with different community groups and sending some of our team in with laptops. Hey, come in, let's sit down and help you do the FAFSA right here on the spot. But even with that addition, because FAFSA was running so far behind, even with our help, it was very difficult to make a dent. We're worried about this year as well.
Seriously,
there's already indications that there's going to be some delays, so we're trying to reach out. We're developing videos for family. This is how you navigate the process. Our business office is on call to answer questions for families, and we're actually working with our business, our Del Kemper School of Business, to offer some extra support. As you know, a big portion of our mission is service. So how do we use current students, especially in business, to help upcoming students apply for FAFSA and navigate through the process?
Unreal. Again, this is all supposed to be a simple, to simplify the form, and it just put a world of hurt on that. On an already, vulnerable moment for universities, isn't it?
Well, this year, my first year. So let me lay out the picture, Joel.
Okay, please.
Let me kind of tell you the things that were happening.
Yeah.
So we had the FAFSA debacle, which I'll be free to say.
That's accurate.
It was a mess, and then we have this. People have been talking about the cliff, and we started seeing this population decline. It's been in the making for several years, and I think everybody's aware that there is an election going on, right?
So just slightly.
But have you heard any candidates talking about population decline?
No, and they're not even talking about education.
No. These are some of the lowest birth rates in the history of our country. We are not producing enough children to feed our economy over the next several years. No one's talking about, but we're seeing it in higher ed. So the K through 12 schools are seeing it. We're seeing it. So you've got about a 10 to 12% population decline. If you have the same number of colleges or university, you've got a decrease in demand, yet you've got the same supply. So last year, we saw colleges and universities close down about one per week.
It's incredible.
And it's also not something that a lot of folks are talking about. So there's been mergers, there's been acquisitions, and there's been closures. So on top of that, the economy, the job market has been pretty good. So there's this new group of student that they're being called the non-consumers, meaning these are students that simply aren't going to college or university, but the scary part is they're not doing anything else.
Right.
So
they're kind of dropping out of the workforce.
They're dropping out, and I'm a big proponent of the trades.
Yeah.
And I think we should be, especially at the high school level, we should be getting students ready to enter the trades. But if you talk to people that own businesses, they can't hire. No. They're having a hard time. So you've got this non-consumer group. They're not going to college or university. They're not entering the trade. About 60% are males. Most of the population are white males, and 1 in 3 are not working at all. So if any of the listeners have any kids living in their basements, please send them to our website, gannon.edu. We'd love to talk to them about getting them to school. But in all seriousness, let's think about employers. Let's think about our workforce. So we're not preparing our students to be able to enter the workforce properly, and that's an issue. It's going to be an issue for all of us.
Well, you think about, okay, so just look around our block here. If we just go a block south to Erie Insurance, they're looking for entry-level actuaries, claims adjusters. I mean, people that can handle math. You look a block north of us, everything from, just maintenance at the hospital to, high-end RNs, MSNs, whatever you have there. Again, these are all programs at Gannon.
Absolutely. You bring up a great, great example. We'll use healthcare,
Yeah.
respiratory care, radiology. We have both those programs, and we have a hard time getting 18-year-olds interested in those fields, and they will have a job before they graduate because there's such a demand. As we're talking to UPMC and Allegheny Health, we're trying to form partnerships to get more students into the funnel, and it's been a struggle. The other area, which I think I've also, when you talked about not politicians not talking about education,
Yeah.
we are hitting a crisis point with teachers. We are not graduating enough teachers. And this is why a lot of school districts are actually being forced to take more of an online format because they're struggling. They're struggling recruiting. A lot of colleges and universities have shut down their education departments because those kids coming out of high school do not see it as a profession that they want to invest in. This is a problem. I mean, we need to really look at our educational model, or we're going to be in some serious trouble. And if you think about the future of our communities and our country itself, it's based on education.
Yeah.
This is something we need to be talking about.
We're talking to Dr. Walter Iwanenko. He is the president of Gannon University. There's some major balls in the air and things that we're navigating here at this moment in higher ed as well as in our culture, and we're going to talk more about it as we continue here on the Joel Natale Show. It's an Inspire interview with Gannon University President Walter Iwanenko. He is here in studio at 429 State. Doc, I want to ask you about majors. So we have this conversation here when we talk about economic development, high impact jobs. What are and we've done the Garner study here locally by the chamber to try and identify, what are some places where we could really grow here. And you want that synergy to happen with the educational infrastructure to match the jobs that are needed. We just mentioned a couple. We need teachers. We need nurses. What are the kids really gravitating to these days for majors at Gannon?
Well, I don't want folks to forget about the liberal arts and liberal studies.
Right. And I'm on the chess board. So.
There we go.
Chess is College of Humanities, Education, and Social Sciences.
Right. So
the advisory board.
As we talk with employers, what employers are telling us is, look, we can get people in and we could teach them technical skills, but what we can't teach them are some of the soft skills, and we can't teach them the communication piece. They need to be able to come in with that. How do you get along on a team? So what we're making sure that we're doing as we're building our curriculum is that we're working those skills into all the majors. Now, of course, as far as specific majors that are hot, engineering always. Engineers are in high demand. Healthcare's in high demand. And in degrees like nursing, for example, nursing's in high demand, but we're actually seeing less applications across the country in some of the healthcare fields. We don't know if COVID really impacted students' desire to work in healthcare, but we're actually seeing some decreases in some of those fields. We're really working on delivering an interdisciplinary approach to education. For example, we've got the minor in innovation and creativity,
right,
where you're bringing students from multiple majors together on projects, because that's the way the world works, right? No one's working in silos anymore. So you take a course and let's give it the boring name, public speaking, right? So
that's exactly what I was thinking of. So everybody had to take it in my day.
Yeah. So now we've taken public speaking, and in revamping the curriculum and looking at our minor in innovation and creativity, now it's called the pitch. And students have to get together and they have to pitch a project and have that public speaking experience. So they're learning the skill set in a much different way. And that's the way that we see education moving. But
and think about real life experience. You have that, let's say, that engineering team that's on a project, and you're called to give a report to the muckety mucks above you at your corporation. You've got to be able to talk yourself. I'm going to use a euphemism. You got to be able to talk yourself out of a paper bag. You've got to be able to explain it to the business type of what exactly your widget or whatever you're working on is going to be able to be done. That just takes some kind of skill there. And that's why we get these well-rounded liberal arts educations.
Absolutely. You have to be able to articulate
exactly
to different audiences. So, so Joel, it's the muckety mucks above, and it's your colleagues that you're working with,
and the vendor that you're trying to deal with to get you the right part for your widget.
Absolutely.
I love this kind of chat because and here's another important thing of why it's important to have the College of Humanities strong, is that for some kids, they might think, hey, I want to be a nurse, or I want to be an engineer, or I want to be a financier. And maybe they hate it.
Oh.
And so they go into psychology, or they go into social work, or they go hopefully into communication arts, right? I mean,
well, part of the college university experience is to figure out where your strengths and weaknesses are. And so I had an example of a student who was in the nursing program and really struggled academically with some of the anatomy and biology, but wanted to be in healthcare. So sat down with the student and said, tell me what you'd like to do. Well, excellent writer, organized, doesn't hate math, right? So I said, look, have you talked to what about healthcare administration? What about the administrative side of healthcare? And I will tell you that student graduated and is now running a medical practice.
Wow.
So that's part of the experience, and everybody's afraid to fail. Everybody's afraid to fail. No one wants to take any risks. You got to take a risk, and
the best time to take a risk is when you're 18.
You betcha.
And you've got all kinds of bandwidth. There's no feeding. You don't have to feed any mouths.
Yeah.
It's just your time and maybe a couple extra courses. Oh my goodness. What about parents though? Are parents are they cool with not putting so much pressure on their young people? Because we have a different society where, my parents didn't really know anything about my major. My dad thought I should be a shoe repairman, or some kind of a physical trade as I went into being, a disc jockey and learn to write, and be a public speaker. But, I made my own path with the support of my parents, but they didn't really get what I was studying. Are parents kind of hovering a bit more?
Well, so we used to have the term helicopter parents,
Yeah.
The hovering above. Now the term is lawnmower parents. They just want to mow down everything in front of their children so that they don't have to climb over any obstacles.
Oh my.
And so it's a mix. I mean, I talk with some parents that are, it's okay for my child to fall and struggle and get back up, and that's how they learn. We have other parents that want to knock down all the obstacles. We try to have that conversation at orientation. Like, look, this is a team effort. We need your help with this.
Yeah.
So when your child comes to you, when your student comes to you and says, I don't understand why I have to take this philosophy course, we don't need you to say, well, you're right. You should just be taking your engineering courses.
Right.
We want you to say, that's how you learn to think from someone else's perspective. That's what it's about. And it makes you a better person. We want good engineers and good OTs and good teachers, but we want great people. And to be a great person, you got to be able to think from someone other. You got to walk in someone else's shoes, right? Mm-hmm. That's part of the experience as well.
Well, and there is the classroom part of it, and then there's the, working things out with your frat, or your roommate. Hello.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, one of my kids, most of the people that in orientation had their own room. Well, my kid didn't. So it was okay to have a roommate. But for a lot of those students, it's a culture shock to have somebody snoring or wanting to eat or is on the phone with their boy or girlfriend, at 1 o'clock in the morning.
And Joel, the COVID really... these kids had their own places and they for like 2 years, right? So now they're put in a situation in college or university where they do have to share.
Yeah.
and some really struggle with that. Mm-hmm. And we see that with roommate conflicts. We see it. Mental health concerns are one of the biggest growing concerns we're seeing in higher education. Wow. So we've had to invest in additional services. One example of how we've changed our model, each first year student actually has 2 advisors. So we have an academic advisor. Let's make sure you're taking the right courses. But then we have a professional advisor that says, hey, how you doing with your roommate? You have a place to live? You got enough money? Are you eating okay?
Wonderful. We're talking to Dr. Walter Iwanenko from Gannon University. He's the president. When we get back, we'll talk about some of the institutional priorities here as we navigate the 2024-2025 school year. It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. You're tuned to Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show, 105.9 WZTE. It's an extended Inspire interview with the president of Gannon University, Dr. Walter Iwanenko. We're live on Facebook as well as on YouTube, along on the radio and on the internet and all those things. I want to pivot, Doc, to kind of the more corporate things that are going on here. And let's start with the campaign for Gannon's future, the next 100 years. 2025 is coming right up here, right? I mean, a couple months away. So
yeah, so it's very exciting. We're actually in the middle of a fundraising capital campaign. We're trying to raise $100 million. So we've made some really good progress. We're about $83 million raised. So we plan to close that out in 2026. But 2025 is our centennial.
Yeah.
100 years, 100-year celebration. We'll be kicking it off in January.
Yeah, I've read the old newspapers of, Archbishop Gannon saying, we're going to build this college, right? And of course, when you think about what has happened since with, folding in Villa Maria College and then just the expansion here, it's pretty remarkable, the impact, the community impact, and the regional and national impact of Gannon. It's still U.S. News and World Report, best value in a nationally ranked school.
Yeah, it's the history of the institution and decisions made by the people before us. Mm-hmm. For example, you brought up the merging of Villa Maria College. Gannon wouldn't be where it is today without that merger. It brought healthcare and education to the business school and engineering of Gannon College, building Gannon University. This is also where this is our 2025 year, 100-year centennial, 10 years for our Ruskin campus. So that decision was made years ago to build out. And this really led us to looking at a larger M&A strategy, a merger and acquisition strategy that we've been working on for about a year now.
Are you staying focused only on Catholic universities that might be open to this, or are you looking at other kind of private institutions?
When we set out, one of our non-negotiable variables was mission alignment.
Sure.
Not necessarily Catholic, but we were definitely looking for faith-based institutions that share similar missions.
And again, the reality out there is not everybody is in the same financial stability as Gannon is, right?
Yeah, one of the other non-negotiable variables, we were looking for partners that were in good financial standing. Mm-hmm. We weren't looking to partner with another institution that would need a huge influx of cash to keep them going. Mergers don't work well when you've got two weak entities or you have a very strong and a very weak. The best merger are mergers where you have two organizations coming together that are both in good standing.
Mm-hmm. And so that brings us to the Ursuline College in Pepper Pike, Ohio, which in a ways is quite a bit different from Gannon because it is in a not rural but certainly suburban setting versus the urban setting of Gannon. But you're saying that the religious community behind that university or that college is pretty remarkable of what they've done to make that happen.
The Ursuline sisters have been fantastic, and I have to give a lot of credit to their leadership. They made a decision. They haven't had a new sister join the order in over 20 years. So their average age is about 83, 84 years old. So the sisters said, look, this isn't sustainable. They were looking for a partner that had good mission alignment, that was in good financial standing. So we got two check boxes, right? And they were also looking for an organization, preferably a Catholic organization, that they could trust to keep the Ursuline legacy alive. Mm-hmm. And we have history with that, with the Sisters of St. Joseph and Villa Maria College. So when we first met, it was, I have to tell you, it was like we were longtime friends.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was. And this level of trust that we were able to build immediately was exceptional.
What when you put dollars and cents to something like a merger like this, are we talking that you could save millions of dollars a year in things like administration, marketing, and so on? Because you still are going to maintain physical plants, right?
That's correct.
Sports teams, maybe, you know.
The plan would be Ursuline does have Division II athletics, the Ursuline Arrows. We have our Gannon Golden Knights. The athletic programs would remain separate. And Joel, it is literally millions of dollars when you scale correctly, because if you think about it, two separate organizations, we have to have separate insurance policies. Well, now you have one insurance policy. We're paying different software vendors for essentially the same programs. Well, now we scale those down into one. When we're marketing in the Cleveland, Ohio area, now we're marketing Gannon University, Ursuline College together. And there's also different programs on the campuses. So Ursuline, for example, has a very strong fashion design program. We don't in Erie. We would have at Gannon and on our Erie campus, we have no intention of starting that. But now we can direct students to that program, and they could direct students to our programs here. So, yeah, it's literally millions of dollars.
Amazing. And again, this is a trend you were saying when we talked about when the announcement came out. This is a trend that we're going to see across academia, right? I mean,
yeah, we're seeing more and more of it. As I mentioned before, we're seeing a right sizing of the industry, and we saw this in healthcare. Years ago, we saw a bunch of mergers within healthcare organizations in different cities. This is a right sizing of the supply based on the demand that we're seeing in the industry.
Where do you see? The idea of becoming a professor turning. Because again, a lot of the boomers are going to want to retire at some point here soon. They're knocking on 70, 75 years old. Do you feel like there's going to be enough workforce, or are we going to be flooded with too many PhDs? How does that all shake out?
Well, I do see a little bit of a shift. So when we're talking about industry-specific education, I'm actually seeing a shift away from the traditional PhDs and more toward industry experts that can teach real-world experiences. And so I think we're going to see mixes, and I do see some of the accrediting bodies that are changing their standards, where years ago you'd have 100% of your faculty have to have PhDs. Now we're seeing, 60% of your faculty have to have PhDs, and you're allowed to have 40% that have appropriate experience and training. So we're seeing that shift. The research
to me that's shocking.
Yeah.
Because again, it never used to matter what your real world experience was.
Yeah, I think we're seeing more and more of the accrediting bodies changing their standards and accommodating for those differences.
Let's talk about campus here. You've got a big construction project going on over at the auditorium, the Highmark Events Center. Talk about where that's at, and is that coming in on time and on budget? Yeah,
Joel, I don't want to jinx myself, but I am telling you that it is on time, it is on budget, and keep your calendars open for January 15th, which will be our first basketball home games, men's and women's. We're excited to launch. We're also very excited because we've designed the inside of this space to be another destination for downtown Erie.
Okay.
Like we really want to make sure that this is a community asset. And so it's just not about hosting Gannon events. If you think about that venue of about 2,500 spectators, we can have other events there.
Sure.
And what a better location. We want people to come down, enjoy downtown, go to the restaurants, support the businesses, and Gannon, we're a part of that.
I saw Huey Lewis in the News, 1983. You know, and that guy could spit like 4 rows in. But oh my gosh, but yeah, that was a great concert. What other physical plant things are going on? I know that you're working with Tom Hagen's company about some of the older buildings that are adjacent to campus and so on, right?
Yeah, Mr. Hagen's been a fantastic partner, and for those of you that are our Gannon alum, Worley Hall's coming down. So if you spent some time in there this summer, Worley's at the end of life, and we hit a point where it's just not worth investing.
What was it? Was it a men's and then it was a women's or something like that?
Yeah,
at one point?
And it's been a mix. And
it's been a mix.
It's been a mix, and our students right now actually love it because the building's a little bit older. So essentially, all the rooms are singles.
Okay.
So the students love it. But again, when you're talking about replacing boilers at just about $1 million, it just doesn't make sense. And then add in the roof and all the other expenses.
Sure.
So we're going to take it down. But Mr. Hagen's got a fantastic project. There's a house on 7th Street, old Victorian, the Norman House, which is going to be lifted and actually turned and put in between the other 2 houses on 6th Street. So we're going to have we'll have a little bit of a celebration as we're going to watch that house get picked up and moved and join its partners on 6th Street. So
do you need Worley, or you're going to just kind of hold off for a little bit?
Well, we knew Worley was going to come down, so we built South Hall.
So that was South Hall.
And so we do not need the rooms right now. And
gotcha.
What we want to be really careful of is we don't want to overbuild our housing supply. We are blessed to be in the downtown campus, and look, we've got EDDC that are building some fantastic apartments. We've got the Avalon project, which is coming online. That'll be additional apartments. Sure. So there's enough housing that we don't feel we need to build it.
That makes a lot of sense here. As far as the other buildings, was there anything else part of the campaign that is still in the works, I guess?
Well, we're good right now. We're good on projects.
Okay,
We'd like to finish up the Highmark Center.
Yeah.
But we just opened up our greenhouse, which there is room in the infrastructure we put next to the greenhouse. There's actually room for 2 more greenhouses.
Okay.
So we want to get the first one up and running. It's got plants in it, and again, as a reminder, that's going to be growing all native species that will be replanted out at Presque Isle. So pulling out invasive species and putting the natives in its place, and we'll have students and community members working on that project.
I can't believe it's taken us 45 minutes to talk about Project Neptune.
Yeah,
because it was the breaking news for several months.
Right.
Tell me how that project's going along here.
Well, we're moving forward. So the design of if you're referring to the our education center within the Blasco Library, design is complete. We're actually going to be starting demo and putting that project into place with the hopes of opening up for next fall.
Okay, fall of 25. Okay,
correct.
Wow.
Correct.
And are we purchasing another watercraft or no?
We're putting together a funding stack. So
Okay.
we do want to replace our Environaut, which is again it's getting toward end of life, and we want to get an upgraded research vessel. But we're really excited. We've hired a director for Project Neptune, so Sam
Yes.
Mason.
We talked to her.
Yeah, Dr. Mason. And what's really exciting are the collaborations that she's building with other community groups. And again, if people can imagine a summertime with kids coming down and participating in a camp where they're working, collecting samples on the boat, working in the lab, going to the Maritime Museum, learning how ships are built, that's fantastic. And we are now showing off our assets. This community has an incredible asset in this waterfront, and we need to toot our own horn a little bit and get people down here to see it.
If there was one thing that, like, the average Joe in Erie I bet you they don't understand this about Gannon or that we do that. What do you like? What's like the big surprise to a Erie citizen of what Gannon does that they just might not know about?
You know, I think it's the community integration piece. When you look at the number of students that are involved in service projects throughout the community, whether it's helping out at Presque Isle or helping individuals do their taxes or helping to run our summer youth camps, it's thousands of hours of service that are built up by our students and our employees in this community. There's not a place that I go to where someone doesn't say, hey, we had one of your students in here and they did a fantastic job. That's what makes it very special.
That is really remarkable when you think about Gibbs, Gannon making the investment, the working with the community organizations, the partnerships that Gannon is so involved with. I think about our West Bayfront; it wouldn't really exist without Gannon. I mean,
absolutely.
Making major investments here. I got 3 minutes, and I want you to kind of pull out 30,000-foot view. Erie's experiencing a lot of investment. They say there's $1 billion that has been invested the last 5 years or so, or that is on the docket. Obviously Erie's growth helps Gannon, but what do you see? What are you most excited about community-wide that helps your students, helps your faculty, and really helps the institution?
I'm excited about what's happening downtown. And when you look at the collaborations that are taking place downtown as far as bringing additional businesses, housing, addressing some housing concerns, I think the future is extremely bright. This downtown community, and for people that sometimes hesitate to visit downtown, you could live downtown, you could walk to a show, you can go to a ball game, you can go to the hockey game. Tonight I'm going to a show at the Warner, and if anybody else is going, I'll see you there.
You're right.
If you travel to another city, that is unrealistic to be able to afford doing those events. We've got a gem here, and I'm excited about the ability to recruit students and recruit talent to Gannon University because of what's happening around us. And I want to make sure that our students are staying in Erie and and they're contributing to this economic system that we're building. So I think the future is bright. And I tell people all the time, people that I meet in other areas, invest in Erie.
That's amazing. Again, we call our universities here. They're kind of they're those Velcro institutions where a kid from Pittsburgh, a kid from St. Mary's or wherever comes here, falls in love with the community, and makes their way here, or they find a spouse here or something like that. You think about okay, so we've had this hour-long conversation with the Gannon president, and we still haven't talked about Makerspace and the Small Business Development Center and the Erie Technology Incubator. Again, these are things that we talk about on other shows,
right?
But they're all from Gannon.
Absolutely. Yeah, the job creation, the entrepreneurship,
the beehive. My God, I'm interrupting you.
Oh no, it's exciting because you get energized when you see businesses coming in and then staying in Erie and then hiring students, and not just Gannon students, Mercyhurst students, and Barron students, and Allegheny students, and Edinburgh students, and it's an incredible opportunity that we have down here to work together to build Erie as this place to not only work and get an education, but to play and to learn and to live. It's fantastic.
All right. Go Knights.
Go Knights.
Thank you. Dr. Walter Iwanenko, the president of Gannon University. Appreciate taking the time together here.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. It is 6 minutes in front of the hour.